Well, it took the voice of the Anglican Church Bishop Stephen Moreo to compel councillor Sihle Nguse of Ward 60, Joburg Park, to remove piles of rubbish at the Anglican Cathedral precinct in the vicinity of the Villiers and Wanderers Streets in the city of Johannesburg. That's in the CBD, I should say. The bishop and congregants were on a Palm Sunday procession to mark the start of the Holy Week leading to the Good Friday Crucifixion of Jesus, when the procession was met with heaps of rubbish. In a recorded video, the bishop can be heard saying he has never seen such filth in a world-class city. He said God cannot do anything with the rubbish, but the mayor, through the people he works with, has been granted authority to take care of the city. Well, Bishop Stephen Moreo, the Anglican Bishop of the Diocese of Johannesburg, joins us via Zoom. And in studio, we've got Reverend Ndumiso Richard Ncombo of the Central Methodist Church in the Johannesburg CBD. Great to have you. Thank you very, very much, Reverend, for being with us here in studio. It's a pleasure to have you. And the Bishop as well. Bishop, are you able to hear us? And good morning to you.
Yes, good morning to you. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. I'm so glad. Yes. I'm so glad. Yes. This is such a fantastic story. Yes. In a horrible way, because we have been complaining about the look and the feel and the deterioration of Johannesburg as a whole. But now we're focusing in on the CBD, which has been years and years and years of being ignored. And it has gotten to a point now where people need to stop and say enough is enough. Reverend, let's go back to what you did. Filming this video, being disgusted at what you were seeing, all of this because of a religious celebration that's taking place. Perhaps you want to talk to us to the build-up to eventually filming this message. Bishop,
sorry,
this is for you. No, please go for it.
Oh, this is for me. Oh, okay. Thank you very much and good morning, and thank you for inviting me. If you were to ask me what is the summary message that I try to convey to the city official, it's simply this: that we as the church, we believe that the city of Johannesburg, we aspire to be a world-class African city. So therefore, we as the church, we can no longer be quiet when the situation around our city center is becoming almost a slum area. I have before me here documents that since 2020, we have been trying to communicate with the city silently in boardrooms with all these documents. But the more we talk silently, the more things get worse. So that is why on Sunday I thought we should cry Hosanna. And the word Hosanna, it save us. And I was trying to say, Mr. Mayor, together with your team, save the city center. And if you do so and play your part, we will join you in saving the city. So, and we were unable to freely walk on the pavements around the cathedral to celebrate Palm Sunday. Yeah. And I found that's not acceptable. It can't go on like this. Yeah. And I believe also that the city of Johannesburg has got beautiful buildings, and as a result, as a cathedral, we have cancelled a number of international events at the organ recitals because people are afraid to come and attend these recitals. Our own worshippers finding it so difficult to come to worship at the cathedral. So I think I should just stop there, and then I'm happy to continue later.
Yeah. I mean, Bishop, you hit on such important points, and everything you are saying is truth, because this is where we live. This is just a couple of kilometers away from where we broadcast, and the problem is that the rot is spreading. So it's not getting better. It's not that it's an isolated space. This has been like that for a long time, but it's getting worse and worse wherever you go, which is just, it's absolutely ruining this beautiful city. It really is. It's hard to call it a beautiful city these days. Reverend, let's talk to you. I mean, what is your stance on all of this, and what are you witnessing where you are?
Well, thanks, Leanne, and greetings to everyone. I think a couple of things for me that we need to look at. Where I am in a critical area at Small and Pritchard, just next to High Court. And there's history around that building that used to have a couple of people that were staying in the building. But around Joburg, I think there are the municipality, especially the JMPD, are the people that are really failing us, together with the city, in just trying to uphold the bylaws, the simple bylaws. And that is where the problem is, because the filth around the city, there is crime around the city. There are so many people that occupy space illegally, street vendors, including sex workers that are just half naked during daylight. And so when we talk about the city, the filth in the city, the contributing factor are the businesses that are there, that do not even have bins for that matter. They just throw everything right on the street. People are cooking, they've got their small shops right in the pavement. You can't walk in Joburg, you have to walk in the street. And so every building, doesn't matter what building it is, you will find the same situation, rubbish everywhere. Next to me there is a building that is a medical center. They throw even medical stuff, dispose them, injections, and you find these Nyaupe boys having injection. You ask yourself, but where do they get all these injections? Around every corner you find gangs that are standing and selling drugs, even to school-going children. And the JMPD is around, they are just walking and doing nothing.
And that's the problem, is that they're turning a blind eye. And these have been accusations that have been going on for years and years and years. Everybody turns a blind eye to what's been happening in the Johannesburg CBD, whether we talk about hijacked buildings, drug use, the prostitution, the rampant prostitution. And besides that, it's not even the prostitution so much, it's the fact that so many of these women have been illegally brought into there, and this is trafficking.
That's human trafficking, yes.
The amount of human trafficking that's happening there.
I mean, you find 10-year-old, you ask her, where do you come from? Somewhere in the rural place. Yeah. I've been brought to Joburg. Others are being organized around the continent, and they don't have documents, but they are there on the streets. Yeah. And I think that's a problem that we do not want to face head on, because there's corruption that is involved. Remember, these are gangs. These are people that have got money. They are able to bribe even the same law enforcement agencies. And so if we need to deal with this matter, we cannot handle it at face value and talk about what we see. But we need to go and find the root cause of it that brought Joburg to be in the state in which it is today. Yeah. And that includes a partnership, therefore, between the community, because the people that contribute to this are the very same community. The people that contribute to the filth are the very same congregants and the people in the society. Unless what the bishop has done, beating a drum, a Hosanna drum, it's the only thing that will take us from this situation. Yeah. And so that must not only be the Palm Sunday message, but it must be a message that every time we have an opportunity to speak to it. I spoke to Sihle, the councillor. Yes. I mean, the same thing happened at Small Street. There was no way you could get into Central Methodist Church, no way. It was filthy. And I spoke to him. And thank God that he responded. Till today, there is nothing in that area. It's clean till today. And it cannot be that it has to be about the proximity to political power that can change the situation. But it must be a responsibility of every official of the government that is paid. Those JMPD directors get over 2 million a month. But ask me what they do when the city is in that state. Yeah, and that's I'm so glad you said that it's not about the proximity to politics or politicians that you get things done. Yes. Because the reality is that we live in the city, we pay our taxes, we pay our rates.
Where does that money go? Why is it not being used? Bishop, obviously your cry, your video went viral. Obviously something was done about it. The executive mayor is tweeting about it and then, of course, posting pictures of how they arrived and cleaned up, which for me is even more unacceptable because it shouldn't have been that way in the first place. But when you spoke to him, what was his kind of message? What did he say?
Well, I have not had the opportunity to speak to the executive mayor.
Okay.
I have spoken to Sihle, and I'm grateful that he responded. And thanks to him for responding so quickly, and also the head of the JMPD who deals with the bylaws. I'm grateful to them for what they've done. Actually, what also angered me is this: that do you know that Archbishop Tutu, he wanted his funeral to take place at St. Mary's Cathedral. And he decided to change. You know why? It's because as he turned around and saw the filth around the cathedral, then he changed his mind. And that still saddens me big time. And therefore, I'm saying that we don't even to talk about that area to call it the Archbishop Tutu precinct and use his name. No, we can't do that. We must do what is right.
Yeah.
And I've been saying to people that for me this was not a political show. I'm not a politician, and I don't want to be a politician. I'm a leader in the Church of God. And what I'm saying is, as Mfundisi Ndumiso said earlier on, let the mayor and his team make sure that they enforce the bylaws, and Mfundisi Ndumiso, and together with other religious leaders, we will make sure that we speak to our members to say, you should, as a Christian, become a responsible citizen in this country by doing the following things. Don't litter wherever you are. Pay for services so that when we call the city leadership to be accountable, then we are also accountable. So I think let them do what they need to do, and we will make sure that we educate and help our members to be, as I said, responsible citizens of this country.
Indeed.
We cannot stop or put a fence around the cathedral, because if we do that, we will be breaking the law.
Yeah.
Because that land belongs to the city.
Yeah. So, I mean, that Bishop, you've really touched on an important note, because, you know, at the end of the day, the litter comes from somebody, and somebody is you and I. These are people that are, we're throwing things out. I mean, when you live in filth, you actually just close your mind to it and just, you just forget about it. But it is hard to do that, because this brings the psyche of the city down. This enhances the criminality. This takes you to a place that you don't really want to be. I mean, I know in the community that we live in, I mean, there's a lot of active citizenry where if there are potholes in the roads, it's the citizens that are now trying to fill the potholes. People are going as far as putting bricks in potholes, which makes it worse. They're trying to, I know where we are, we try and pay people to mow the lawns of the municipal grasses because it's out of control, it causes accidents. These are the kind of things that we have to do, even though you do pay rates and taxes. But how much more can citizens do? I mean, yes, of course, we need to get involved. But when it comes to government doing what they are paid to do, what choice do we have as South Africans?
I think as South Africans, Leanne, we need to have a voice that is loud and hold them accountable. We cannot have people that we elect into power and we do not hold them accountable. For example, I took it upon myself to speak to the MMC of Finance, Dada, and say to him, I am not happy about the condition of the homeless people that sleep on the street. That also contributes to the situation in which we are. That speaks to exactly the filth that we see in the city. If the citizens, with one voice, even the religious leaders and all the community, can uphold these officials accountable, knocking their doors, because they say they have got an open door policy. We need to knock to those doors. And I'm happy that the MMC said it's going to organize a meeting with religious leaders to address all these things that we are crying about. And so something needs to be done.
Yeah, it really does, and desperately, because and this I know is just the start of the conversation, because we are going to get a response from the city. In fact, what I would like to do is to organize a location to interview the city at that location, not tell them where we're going, and let them explain why it looks like that and why it's acceptable that Johannesburg citizens or citizens of South Africa are made to live in squalor like that, and they do nothing about it. Exactly. And I think that that's what we need to do live on television, and let them explain it there and then, not tell them where we're going so they can clean it up before we get there, because that's what politicians
especially
are good
those
at.
Places that are called Mnyamandao.
Yes.
They are very dangerous.
Well, that's
during
where
the day,
you will point us in the direction, and we will go there.
I would be glad to
and
do
we
that.
will go there. Bishop, let me leave a final word to you, because obviously this issue is now out of control, and we need to rein it in. Perhaps there's just, without politicizing it, because right now this is politics aside. We've got to get rid of politics and not align ourselves to that. We need to align ourselves to brand South Africa and fix it up. What do you tell South Africans?
I want to say to all of us as South Africans, and particularly those within this beautiful supposed to be a world-class African city. I want to say, and I agree with Mfundisi, that we need to call those in authority to account. But equally so, I would like to plead with us as religious leaders to constantly also call our members of our congregations to also be accountable, because as Christians, we are supposed to make sure that our city is clean, because we believe that this is, although it is run by political leaders, this is the city of God. And therefore, Christians also stand up and take your responsibility to make sure that this city is clean. And even in the townships,
Indeed.
I may test.
Indeed. Yeah. Bishop, thank you. Bishop Stephen Moreo, the Anglican Bishop of the Diocese of Johannesburg, joining us via Zoom, and in studio with us, Reverend Ndumiso Ncombo of the Central Johannesburg Church, talking to us about the role of institutions such as churches mobilizing communities for the good of the nation, and particularly in the city of Joburg, and to try and clean the filth that we have now learnt to live alongside.